What up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Loaf. After we kind of went through this Holy Week with Scott and got to hear some of his thoughts through all of that, and it's been really good, but we're going to get back into some of our normal rhythms here on The Loaf and have these different devotionals by some of us interns and volunteers. But something that I want to just kind of talk about today is one of my favorite stories in the Bible. And so my favorite gospel is actually the book of John. And if you ever want to go through and read all about the nature of God and who God is, John is a great place to start. And this story comes after Jesus has been resurrected. And it's fitting, I think, because we've just experienced Easter in kind of a new way. And it was awesome to be able to do that with everyone. But here is the story that I like to call Breakfast with Jesus. So Jesus has appeared to the disciples a couple times before this, and then you have a couple of disciples. It's Peter, Thomas, Nathaniel, the two sons of Zebedee, and it says two other disciples. They decide that they're going to go fishing, and it's kind of Peter who's like, "Well, I'm going to go back to what I know how to do." After all this has happened, and he's thinking about the ways that he's failed Jesus. You think about the denial of Peter. And the things that he said and then went back against. And so Peter, after seeing Jesus is back and knowing that, he doesn't really rest in that fact. He actually decides he's going to go back to fishing. And so he brings a couple other disciples and they go out fishing and they don't catch anything, which we are constantly told throughout the Bible that they never catch anything until Jesus shows up, which makes me kind of wonder whether or not they were any good at fishing. I guess, they were kind of good disciples, but maybe not good fishermen. I don't know. But they go out fishing and they haven't caught anything all night. And then they hear a voice from the shore and says, "Try the other side." And they do, and they end up throwing their nets on the other side and they catch a bunch of fish. And it's in that moment that Peter kind of realizes, like, hey, this has happened before. And he doesn't even wait for the boat to reach the shore. He jumps out and he swims to shore and he beats everybody there because he realizes that it's Jesus on the shore. And Peter is kind of met with this kind of battle within himself as he thinks about the failure in his past and this new information that Jesus is back and Jesus is alive and he's not dead. And suddenly that failure maybe feels a little bit more in the face of Jesus. And so Jesus sits down to breakfast with Peter. And we have this interaction between the two where Jesus asks Peter, "Do you love me?" He says, "Yes, Lord, of course I love you." He says, "Feed my sheep." And this goes on two more times, a total of 3 times. Not very difficult to connect that to Peter's denial of Jesus 3 times. And so we have this kind of parallel conversation where Jesus continues to ask, "Do you love me?" "Yes, yes, Lord, I love you." "Then feed my sheep." And I think today, as we think about what it means to live in this reality of the resurrection, sometimes when we fail, we can feel a lot like Peter. And we go back to our old ways of living, our old lives, and we think, man, like, I messed up. And I am sure that Jesus does not want to hang around me, that Jesus is mad at me, or that God won't forgive me, or all of these things that we can get wrapped up in our failures. And like Peter, we go back to fishing. We go back to whatever lifestyle that we used to live. But Jesus waits on the shore and he calls us. He calls us back into relationship. And he asks us, "Do you love me?" "Yeah." "Then feed my sheep." So today, I don't know where you're at or how you're doing. I hope Easter was well. It's good to be back with you guys. But as we do live in this reality of the resurrection where Jesus is alive, I just want you to know that he loves you and he's calling you back on the shore. We'll see ya.